New poll predicts Trump 2024 landslide. Democrats plan to cheat by removing Trump from the ballot. Here's a clip.
Let's be real. Nobody knows what is going to happen in 2024. Donald Trump faces dozens, nearly 100 indictments. He may have his name removed from the ballot. We have no idea where this goes. The economy could change. It could crash. Student loan debt is about to kick back in what, like a couple weeks? The economy could take a major hit. Biden could crash. And it's possible that Donald Trump does win in 2024 with a sizable margin. We have this story from Newsmax. McLaughlin poll. Trump beats Biden in electoral landslide. Aha, there it is. Now hold on there a minute. They're not saying a landslide. They're saying electoral landslide. Understand what that means.
Same thing.
They are not saying that Donald Trump will garner the majority of the population. They're not saying that he will have 80 million votes. They're saying that he's going to win the Electoral College by a substantial margin. Now, back in 2016, everybody said Trump, it was a landslide. They were cheering for him because he won by like 70 electoral votes or something. Or maybe that's over the top. Completely wrong. He won by a decent margin in the Electoral College, but his actual vote margin was only like 70,000 votes. He barely won the states that he did, which put him over the top. What will likely happen as of right now? Let me just stress, my friends, according to the current polling data that we have, if the election were held today, Trump has a very good chance of winning. In fact, looking at how the polls have been skewed, if we are basing this off of the merits and polling opinion, the opinion of likely voters, Donald Trump would win today in all likelihood. However, we're a year and some months out, so who knows what will happen from now till then. Ballot harvesting plays a much bigger role than just convincing people to vote. And we don't know what's up with the polls. The polls have been wrong. And if you take a look at the polling data over the past couple of months, it's all over the place. So really, we are in uncharted territory. And there's a bigger question of what does it mean to actually win an election? Does winning mean that you've convinced more people to vote for you? Or does it mean that come January, you place your hand on that Bible and they say you are the president? In which case, we have no idea what's going to happen. I do think this polling data is actually very, very interesting because McLaughlin in one poll has Trump up 10 points over Biden, which seems
wow.
I'm sorry. 10 points over Harris. And over Biden, a couple of points. Obviously, with Kamala Harris, that makes a lot of sense. But it's interesting to see that the McLaughlin polls they put out show Trump decisively winning. There are many other polls over the past few months which show the same thing. And right now, in the Real Clear Politics average, Donald Trump is up Joe Biden is up 0.8%. Assuming there is a bias, Trump could actually win. 0.8% is not enough. The Democrats actually need around 7% advantage for a guaranteed victory. Because like I said, Trump is trying to win in key states, not in the general vote. So when they poll likely voters and you see nationally that Joe Biden is doing well by, he's up by like 0.8. What does that mean for the actual states Trump is trying to win?
Right. Who cares if California?
We may once again see a popular vote for the Democrat,
they're
but an
skewing
electoral
towards
vote
Biden
for the Republican. However, I think without lockdowns, which they may be bringing back, Democrats don't stand a chance. Ballot harvesting only goes so far. So what are they trying to do? Outright remove Trump from the ballot in states where he needs to win. And that's it. Game over. If these Secretary of States unilaterally remove Trump's name from the ballot in, say, Wisconsin, it's over. Seriously, it's over. There won't be an election. They'll call it an election, just like North Korea calls their elections, but it's not an election. They'll say legally there is. But everyone will know in their heart of hearts there was not. Democrats will lie and say, but Trump's a criminal. Never Trump or DeSantis supporters will say, well, it's your fault for nominating a criminal. Despite the fact it is an unprecedented extra legal move. Would likely lose at the Supreme Court. But like I said, don't be surprised if come October of next year, they remove Trump's name from the ballot unilaterally and then say, sue us. Good luck. Here's the current story we have from
like
Newsmax.
chaos.
They say, after Georgia's indictment of Donald Trump, our new national poll shows he not only beats Biden, but he would defeat the current president in an electoral landslide. The McLaughlin National Survey finds Trump leads Biden 47-43, up 2 points this month alone. Even more remarkable, with our voter model for this poll, we assigned 4 more points of Biden 2020 voters than Trump voters. This means, looking to 2024, there is an 8-point turnaround in favor of Trump from the 2020 election. Biden voters are switching to Trump. But here's the really big news. In the key battleground states, Trump leads Biden 49-41. If the election was today, Trump would defeat Biden in an electoral landslide. Our poll and other national surveys are confirming a huge turnaround for Trump. I always want to stress the cultural context or the contemporary context. You may find, and you will likely find, clips of this video circulating just before the election or just after or whatever, because we don't know what's going to happen. Watch out for the propaganda. What they will do is they will strip the context from today, hindsight being 2020, and then apply predictions based on this information to future information for which we could not accurately predict. That is to say, we have no idea what's going to happen. Data today is favorable for Trump. We will see. But don't be surprised if in a year they play a bunch of videos of a bunch of different people, because they've done this to me, and you all know it, where they strip out the context of, say, like Moody's analytics on the economy, which predicted a possible Trump landslide, and then say, haha, he was wrong. Well, sure. I can only base the information at the current, off the current. Well, let's roll.
I'll take that.
NBC
They could say I'm wrong. I don't
It
care.
hath begun. Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes said Tuesday that his office is figuring out how to handle potential complaints over whether former President Trump should be disqualified from the ballot. The issue centers on the 14th Amendment, blah, blah. Everyone knows this. Moving on. We have to have a final certification of eligible candidates for the primary ballot by December 14th for Arizona's presidential preference election.
If you don't know it, just to be clear, the 14th Amendment, they're saying it was an insurrection. January 6th, they obviously set all that up. They knew there was going to be a protest at the Capitol, so they're like, okay, we're going to let people in, call it an insurrection, and then Trump will be ineligible because of the 14th Amendment.
As a Democrat elected last year told NBC News. And because this will ultimately end up in court, we are taking this very seriously. New Hampshire Secretary of State David Scanlon is dealing with the same question. We need to run an election. We need to know who is eligible, and this is of incredible national interest. Now, I will say, don't be surprised if just before the primary, they do the same thing to make sure that it's a Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy who wins the Republican nomination. And then you will get a split Republican vote, people who go in and they'll check the box for whoever is there, and those who will just vote Democrat, those who will write in Donald Trump. If these are the 3 categories, Democrats win, which is why I believe that all Republicans should drop out of the race. Said it before, I'll say it again. I agree with Donald Trump. He said all these Republicans should drop out because then it's Trump no matter what. And they can't play these dirty games in the primary. Now, of course, they're going to argue, the never-Trumpers, no, DeSantis, and they're going to cry and whinge and burn DeSantis to the ground. It's unfortunate, but true. And that's DeSantis' own fault. He has courted these really awful people, and so be it. I do not believe DeSantis can win because his current campaign strategy is to spit in the face of anyone who disagrees.
That's weird.
Look, if you want to win an election, you have to win over people.
I liked DeSantis until he started running.
That's why Vivek Ramaswamy is soaring.
I still kind of like DeSantis, don't get me wrong, but I definitely don't think he should have ran. It's disloyal. He's not going to be able to beat Trump. And yeah, now his campaign strategy is awful.
In the polls. He is running the campaign DeSantis should have run. And now you've got Trump supporters cheering for Vivek, even though Vivek needs to drop out. No, I know. A lot of people are 100% for Vivek, don't like Trump. All due respect, I get it, because I'm a big Vivek fan as well. I don't want Vivek to drop out. I want him to win, to be completely honest. I think he's fantastic. All the smears that are coming out, calling him names, saying he was a shill. They're posting videos from Hardball. He's an old clip where he appeared on a similar show at a later date from Pete Buttigieg. And I'm like, I don't care about that, dude. Have a conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy, and you'll get it. Is the dude playing politics very well? Of course he is. He's really, really good at what he does. But you have a real conversation with the guy, and he's quick. I believe him. I certainly don't believe everything he says about everything.
I have
because
mixed
a lot of it's politicking.
still.
Everyone does it. Yeah, I get it. Do I think he is the savior sent from
I liked him a lot until you said that he would pretty much without question he would have certified the 2020 election, without further investigation. And that kind of was just like, for me, I was like, you didn't want to investigate first and then certified it if the states would have recertified. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that
know
answer.
he will look. I'll tell you what really gets me is one, he tells the story of what gets him into this. A lot of it is he was personally slighted by woke activists who targeted his company, and now he's pissed off. But when he said, he was like, he's sitting here talking to me on the Culture War podcast, and he's like, I don't know, they're probably going to get mad at me for saying this, but, talking about his campaign people, his advisors. But he's like, we got to have some kind of like civic requirement for voting. We just have to. And I'm like, you're going to sacrifice the youth vote because you're going to say something that needs to be said, something many of us have been talking about. What is it? Service guarantee citizenship of something to that effect.
I don't know about it.
Yeah, I like the stuff he said about the 9/11 Commission report.
So I need that these guys talk about this, which I guess it's a good conversation to have, but we need to have a civil test in order to vote when you don't even need ID for the left. It's just like, can't we just agree on let's secure the elections and make sure all voter rolls are cleared of like deceased people and make sure all the votes are real, and then we can start talking about if you need a civic test. It's just like, even civic test or not, it's like people are voting that aren't even alive anymore and stuff like that. It's just like, can we handle that? It's like the front line of the issue. Can we get that in check, and then we could go talk about civic tests and whatever?
Lied about Saudi involvement. This dude's doing things you're not supposed to do in a political campaign. You look at Ron DeSantis, and he's playing it like every other establishment shill.
Yep.
So here's what I mean to say.
What a surprise.
With all due respect to DeSantis running, he's an excellent governor in Florida, and absolutely mean it. These guys need to drop out if the Democrats play this game. For now, the time being, let's see where this goes. But I got to be honest. I would not be surprised if
the reason why I say is he might still be a good governor. He seemed like he handled the hurricane pretty well, but has his time split between Florida and his campaign that he most likely isn't going to win. So instead of focusing 100% on Florida, now he's focusing on his campaign. I saw this one guy a couple months back saying he voted for DeSantis to have 4 more years, not 2 more. And then I like I was saying in that video when I covered it, he's not even going to give him 2 years like undivided attention if he wins. If he wins in 2024, he only gave him a few months of undivided attention, and then 2 years of half attention, and then just nothing else. I think a lot of Floridians aren't going to like him in the next election in 2026 because like, hey, you kind of just abandoned us. But I guess we'll see.
Ramaswamy does drop out specifically in support of Trump. He is playing this masterfully. He knows he can't defeat Trump in a primary. So when the Democrats make the move to pull his name off the primary ballot, I would not be surprised if Vivek comes out and says, I'm standing down.
I could see that too.
I believe that I'd be the right man for the job.
And most of this, I think what Vivek is doing is getting publicity, which is working. So next election, if he gets VP this time, everyone's going to know who he is because of that and because of his campaigning. And then in 2028, yeah, he's pretty much a shoo-in for the Republican nomination.
We all can see the writing on the wall. We know that even with the gains we've made in the polls, Donald Trump is the clear frontrunner, and it's time to acknowledge this. But the moves being made by the Democrats and these unilateral decisions are disruptive to our process. And if they seek to remove Trump's name and create a conflict within the Republican Party, we lose. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll see. Smartest play. Boost his profile, puts him in the running for VP. He said he doesn't want to be VP, but it doesn't matter. Being in the running, building that profile, he is hitting the nail on the head with the hammer. We'll see. So this is what they're trying to do. You've got New Hampshire, you've got Arizona, you've got Florida. They could remove his name. We'll see. Let's take a look at the polls. It is funny because we're like a year and a half out, but it has begun. The August 23rd McLaughlin and Associates poll are insane. Trump up 4 points in one poll against Kamala Harris up 10 points. Yikes, they should not have ran her. And then we have 2 more up against Biden +1, up against Biden again +1. I think it's important to point out the aggregates. So if you take a look then at the public policy polling, New Mexico Political Report, general election in New Mexico, you have Biden up 6 and 8 points in New Mexico. In the general election from Ipsos, Trump is up 6 points over Biden. This is insane. General election, August 26, Emerson, Harris X. Harris has Biden up 1. Trump is up 2. Trump is up 5 with Emerson. Amazing. Big Village runs 4 polls. In 1, Trump is up 4. In 1, Trump is tied. In 2 more, Biden has the lead. Morning Consult has Biden in the lead. As of right now, Trump is actually dominating massively in some of these polls.
That's insane. And I see him just going up more. If they try to put him in jail, especially, he's going to get more support based on what we've seen before. And the economy is most likely just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So by the time the election actually comes along, people are going to be like, we need something different.
Putting Trump up 6 points.
And immigration just keeps getting worse, too. 50,000 people crossing the border every week. Now all these people in major cities, like black community in Chicago and New York, they're slowly turning, and that's the worse it gets, the more people are going to turn. The more people are going to turn, and it's just going to be better for Trump.
Polls are skewing in favor of Democrats. This is apocalyptic news. But
their policies are backfiring.
Things will change. Do not bet all your marbles on what we're seeing today.
Definitely not.
Here's the general election, Trump versus Biden. Right now, the aggregate from the RCP, from our Real Clear Politics, is Biden up 0.8%. We take a look at all the polling data going way back.
Keep pushing. If you're like a Trump supporter or just don't like Biden. So the thing with me is I like Trump, but I mean, there's other candidates I'd like more, like Dave Smith and stuff. But I think Trump needs to win this election. All the indictments and everything against him. You know what I mean? But even if you're just against Biden and you're not the biggest fan of Trump, look at what's going on with the country. And you got to admit, Trump's policies were great. I think even people on the left, that's why so many people are going to the right. Well, a big part of it is people realize, okay, the leftist policies just don't work. Even if you don't like Trump in particular, like right-wing policies, if people, they're not even really right-wing policies. Like on the border, like I was saying in an earlier segment, Obama, he campaigned in 2008 for more border security. Did he actually follow through with it? Now that's debatable. But you could tell that people on both sides liked it. That's why he was saying that. It resonated with everyone. Now it's just like, hey, unless you want an open border, you're on the right now, I guess. And they just pushed everyone towards that. And then those policies, they work. That's why everyone supports them, where the majority of people support them.
Trump's doing ridiculously well, man.
Yep, makes sense.
Take a look at this going back through from last year until now. The Biden administration is floundering. And while there are many polls that show him in the lead, Trump has too many. Trump should not be doing this well. So here we are. It seems like right now, if the election were held today, Donald Trump wins.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you he can't win. And boy, man, part of me, I feel really bad for Ron DeSantis. They had that photo, that video clip. There's 2 clips that came out of the GOP debate. The lesser known GOP debate. The first is where, when asked, they said, if Donald Trump is convicted, how many of you will still support him? Vivek, boom, no questions asked. Of course, this is political persecution.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis then looks right, looks left, and then raises his hand halfway.
Maybe.
But then you had that viral clip of Ron making a statement and then smiling, wincing, really going like, and it looks really weak. And I'm just like, I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah. And then when Trump got indicted last week, and DeSantis was at a golf course, and the reporters asked him, he's like, yeah, that's his. He basically, he's like, hey, that's his problem. I'd much rather be on a golf course. It's like, ooh, no support for Trump at all, and that's hurting him a lot. Like Vivek, he's like, okay, I'll pardon Trump, and then Ron DeSantis like, I guess I'll look into it. It's like, bro, you should really be like, be behind. He got you elected. Just no loyalty from him.
I think it's like stressful, not a place you want to be, man. I would never want to be in this position. And I feel like what probably happened with Ron is that he was doing so well in the polls and the prediction market. All of these powerful interests are like, you must run. They're not going to let Trump win. You have to do it. And he's like, okay, fine, I guess. Let's go. The dude clearly doesn't have the energy for this. And his surrogates, and his supporters and his campaign staff and his communication staff. Probably the worst I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they're
That's only
awful.
a handful of presidential election cycles, but woo, boy, You take a look at his comms team, and he may as well have gone to like a local Boy Scout troop of 12-year-old boys and said, you guys figure it out because you'll probably do better than what I got.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ron.
Yeah, they probably
If you
honestly
don't fire the
Not
people
even a
running
joke.
your communications, you deserve to lose. Maybe that's
It's
what
too
what he
late.
really wants.
He should have
Fine, I
fired him
guess.
already.
But we will carry on. Interactive poll says new national poll from YouGov. Trump is up by 1 point, a +4 gain, and Biden drops by 1 point change versus July 25th. For the GOP presidential primary, you've got Trump at 52%, DeSantis at 16%, Ramaswamy at 6%. Should be interesting. Now, one big point that's coming up a lot. I talked about it the other day, saying Trump can't lose if, and it's a big if, this poll is true. Fox News ran a poll showing that Joe Biden has 61% of the black vote and Donald Trump has 20%. And I'm like, I'm hard pressed to believe it. But if that is true, Trump can't lose. Rob Smith made a video where he just said, it's a pipe dream. Never going to happen. And he says, anyone telling you the black vote will be 20 to 25% for Republicans in 24 is not being honest. In fact, they're lying. They lie to you about a lot of things. There's only one of them. Let's break this down. Mike Cernovich says, great video. I did believe Trump was going to do 15% or more. 2020 was the all in on the issue. I was surprised and disappointed. Yeah, Trump got around like 8. I think was it like 8 to 11 or something like that?
It was 8.
There's no
according
credible
to
or
the
logical
poll.
response to your video. There absolutely is. There really is. Rob Smith says, I'm not expecting logic or reason, but I'm expecting a lot of personal attacks and emotion. Anyways, I stumped for Trump. I was on the jets going to events. I was in it, and blacks didn't show up. It was disappointing. And instead of doing a post-mortem on why it happened, he says, why it happened, we get lies and people repeating the same failure we just saw. It's Twilight Zone-ish. Mike Cernovich says, we got to realize most of these Twitter people don't leave their houses much. They go to
I think it's interesting because I see what this guy is saying about like black voters not going for Trump. But like I've said in other videos and everything, the migrant policy is backfiring so hard on the left. I saw a few months ago black people, they were at a city council meeting, and the one guy has a build the wall sign. And I don't necessarily know if he's like a Trump supporter per se, right? But if Trump's like build the wall and Biden's like don't build the wall, who do you think they're going to vote for? The black community in New York and in Chicago, they're sick of this. The migrants are overrunning their neighborhoods and they're sick of it. So even if they're not Trump supporters, they're still going to vote for Trump.
Events with rich white people who is fresh and fit had me laughing. I bet 90% of people telling you about black culture don't even know what Coachella is. Agreed. I stepped back from all of this for a minute because I realized that I was becoming divorced from the culture and spending too much time on Twitter, cable news sets, and GOP influencer functions. That is not the real world. I completely agree, but I do have a response. There is one response. The issue may be not that black voters shift Republican in massive numbers to the point where Republicans are guaranteed a victory. The issue is that black voters may not vote. And I'm not even saying in large numbers. Here's what I want to say to Rob Smith. I think he's right completely, 100%, well, 99%. I do think it's fair to add that there can be a shift, the Kanye West impact. That matters. But it's probably going to be minuscule. I think when you look at the actual data, what you're seeing is young black men may be shifting towards the Republican Party in small numbers, and that causes a shift, but it's not going to be 20% of all black voters. That's why I say that's a big if.
It is.
Like,
20 is
the
a
idea
lot.
you can come out and be like, the black community will vote Republican and Democrats have lost. It's guaranteed. Yeah, I don't know about that. But I do think there's a response. I don't think the response is and he points this out. He's saying it doesn't mean you give up on advocating for conservatism in black communities. He says you just got to make sure
You just got to be realistic.
that you're
That's
being
all
realistic.
he's saying. Yeah.
And I completely agree with him.
Me too.
Now, here's what I'm looking forward to. In this video clip, you have no choice. Trump tells Glenn Beck he will absolutely lock people up if returned to the White House. Forgive me if I don't believe it. But I do think that Trump is
I don't
more
know, he's
likely to
pissed
fire people
off.
than anybody else. So I'll give him that.
You said in 2016, lock her up. And then when you became president, you said, we don't do that in America. That's just not the right thing to do. That's what
Yeah,
they're
well.
doing. Do you regret not locking her up? And if you're president again, will you lock people up?
Well, I'll give you an example. The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us. I always had such great respect for the office of the president, the presidency, but the office of the president. And I never hit Biden as hard as I could have. And then I heard he was trying to indict me, and it was him that was doing it. You know, I don't think he's
Yes, it
sharp
was.
enough to think about
New York Times confirms Joe Biden spoke with Garland and said, do it.
much. But he was there, and he was probably the one giving the order. But he was, hard to believe that he even thinks about that because he's gone. But then I said, well, they're actually trying to indict me because every one of these indictments is him, including Bragg. Bragg put his top people. I don't know if you know this. He put his top person into the office of the Manhattan District Attorney.
We'll see. I am not entirely convinced Trump will lock anybody up. I do think he wants revenge. I do think he's personally slighted. I do think he's angry. And I do think we see firings. I think he'll reposition people, and he's more likely to do it than anyone else.
Yeah, and I agree. And then he's way more likely to do it last time too. Whoops, paused on the wrong thing. Yeah, so I mean I agree. But who knows for sure what he's going to do? But he's more likely to do it now than ever.
Realizing them. I like Vivek. I think he's great. But Trump's got the emotional edge right now. With these indictments, I think he's going to say, okay, we have to do something. It's really just probability, and it's light. So we will see. No guarantees. It's hard to know exactly how this will play out. But I want to highlight the DeSantis campaign. In this tweet from Chris Nelson, I saw this morning. It's really funny because this morning I put out a video where I actually praised Ron DeSantis' response. I'm hearing really great things about what he's doing in Florida. So we'll keep the politics out of it. Good for him. Chris Nelson, I'm going to give you my assumption of this guy.
His
guy
works
profile
for
is indie reporter, saved by God's grace, updates
DeSantis.
on Ron DeSantis and Florida news. I think this guy's a fake journalist that is running a sock puppet scam for the DeSantis campaign. But let me clarify once again. What I mean is masquerading as an independent reporter, but just being fed talking points by the DeSantis camp to promote Ron DeSantis.
So it
is the worst and most pathetic communications attempt I've seen. Now, I don't know that's true. I'm just saying it's my opinion based on what I'm seeing this person do. Take a look at this. He says, every one of these scumbags, many of whom live in Florida due to Governor Ron DeSantis' COVID policies, have not mentioned a word about Hurricane Idalia for political reasons. Some of them are elected officials. The hell with all of them. Get the hell out of the state. And of course, he mentions Matt Gaetz and, Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake's an Arizona candidate. I think it's funny. And of course, I'm there too. Look at that, Tim Cass. He's saying, why aren't you talking about this particular hurricane? And it's funny. I know he posted it last night. I only saw it this morning because it's starting to get a lot of attention. And it's like, so much for my morning video, I guess. Here's what I must say. First, he lied about Matt Gaetz. And I think he lied about a handful of other people.
He probably is lying about all of them.
Just showing, Idalia or whatever. And a lot of these people were talking about the hurricane. They were calling it. Gavin Wax said what likely happened is that the DeSantis campaign gave him the image and said, use this, post it, and go for the attack.
Unbelievable.
I hope Ron DeSantis loses. I want to make sure that's very, very clear for all of you. He's a great governor. Probably the best politician in the country right now.
I don't know about
that.
And
he must lose. I hope his defeat is humiliating. I hope he is mocked handily afterwards. Why? Because he will not fire Christina Pushaw. He will not fire Jeremy Redfern or Brian Griffin. These people who are some of the worst communication
Brian
people
Griffin.
I
How's that guy say that
seen.
name? It's like Family Guy. It's funny. That's his name.
He won't fire him. And I can imagine the only reason he's keeping them around is because he doesn't want to win. And that's what I'm going to say.
I don't know why.
Ron's a smart, capable guy. I keep asking myself this question. Why won't he fire these people? He wants to lose. Seriously, he wants to lose. He's going to build a big, profile. We don't know where he'll go after this. He doesn't expect to actually defeat Donald Trump. None of his donors probably think that's going to happen if he has any donors left. And so the point is to build profile.
Ben Shapiro and like Dave Rubin and stuff, they're all in for DeSantis. I have a friend who I was having a conversation with him the other day. He thinks DeSantis is going to win. He thinks if Trump goes, my friend thinks that if Trump goes to jail, there's no way he can win. I think the opposite, right? It's like if he goes to jail, he's definitely going to win. And I was like, who would you pull for? He's like, DeSantis. I'm like, DeSantis is not going to win. Maybe Ramaswamy, but DeSantis, no.
Get your little, B tier moment and then step back, write a book, and maybe run for Senate or something like that.
I don't know. He might have just.
But I don't know
shot
where he
himself
goes
in
after
the
this.
Foot with all this.
With a campaign as flustered and broken as he's running, I can only assume it's because he really does want to lose. That's it. Follow his surrogates and his supporters, and they say things like Trump can't possibly win. And you're like, look at the data. We've gone over the polls. Like, what do you mean Trump can't win? He's likely. He's got the edge right now. I mean, he could lose for sure. And they might cheat. They might pull his name off the ballot. I mean, they're literally cheating. But that's nothing to do with the electoral process. I'm really let down. I'm really bummed. Last year, I was in the bag for DeSantis. He was the guy. Sitting there with the Daily Wire crew being like, this is it. I mean, he's younger. He's got the tact. He's got the policies. He's primed. And then after all of I'll put it this way. The reason why I think he wants to lose is that people like Chris Nelson and, Christina Pashaw attack DeSantis supporters. And it's just like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, it's
what
weird.
purpose are you doing that? We had Bill Mitchell on the Culture War podcast with Laura Loomer and Kyle Becker. Becker being more middle of the road, liking DeSantis, supporting him a bit and then kind of walking back. Laura Loomer, heavy in the bag. In fact, no one supports Trump more than Laura Loomer. Hands down, no questions asked. And then you had Bill Mitchell, who I'd say probably no one supports DeSantis more. It's a really interesting conversation. When I asked Bill Mitchell why it is that the DeSantis actual staffers are insulting and attacking
Loomer
me,
also lives in Florida, which is interesting. She can't stand Trump. I watched her thing on Timcast IRL. I'm sorry, she can't stand DeSantis. She loves Trump. She can't stand DeSantis. She was on there and she's like, I live in Florida, and she brought up like insurance and stuff. She made some really good points about how everyone thinks that DeSantis is so great, but he definitely has some flaws.
when I'm like middle of the road or even praising DeSantis, he said, yeah, well, Laura Loomer said this about me. And I'm like, what does that have to do with me? There's no answer. There's no answer. Ron DeSantis is either asleep at the wheel, wants to lose, or is incapable of being a leader. And if he can't fire his staff who are running his campaign to the ground, then he deserves to lose. I do not want a man of this weakness to be in the White House. If he can't fire his own failing campaign staff,
he's not going to redo the deep state.
Don't get me wrong. He rehired some through his governor's
He fired
office,
some because of scapegoating. He scapegoated some people. All those fake AI things that they were promoting and stuff. It turns out from leaked Discord messages that the campaign knew about all of these, and then that started getting traction in some news sources. So he scapegoated these people who made the memes. But obviously, the people in top, there was messages from them talking about it. So we know that they knew about it, but he just scapegoated people instead of firing the top people on the top. He's like, okay, they made the memes, okay, fire them. But they commissioned it most likely.
But if he can't fire these people, how is he going to fire anyone else? These are the easiest firings to do. To be like, look, you failed your job. You are burning the campaign to the ground. Get out. You think he's going to have an easier time going up against the bureaucrats, the intelligence agencies?
No way.
Get out of here. He's got unilateral authority right now to be like, you out of my office. You suck.
Yep.
Good luck when you're up against the deep state.
Never going to happen.
So it is what it is, man. Hey, man, I could be wrong because a lot of things.
DeSantis ran. He shouldn't have done this. Especially with this campaign manager, like Tim's saying here, he just shows his true colors way before the primary even happened.
Change. And we'll see. Maybe Ron DeSantis finally comes out and says, you were all right. I've got to fire these people, man. Look at this. It's remarkable. Vivek Ramaswamy did put out tweets about the hurricane and praised Ron DeSantis. And they're insulting him. These people are so stupid.
You praise him and then
I hope he loses. Because Matt Gaetz, look at this. They're insinuating Matt Gaetz has said nothing. Matt Gaetz is a Florida rep. He's been tweeting nonstop about the hurricane.
Obviously.
These people are despicable. I hope he loses. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is just crazy. Like how the DeSantis campaign acts. They're just nuts. And Trump's just going to keep going up in the polls with indictments. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. And the one guy, he's saying that the black vote isn't going to be that high. He was all in on Trump in 2020, and the black people just didn't come out. It's way different. 4 years is a long time. It's almost a half a decade. So I think things are changing. And will it be 20%? I obviously don't know. Well, only time will tell. But I could honestly see it being there or a little bit higher. I really could. Call me crazy, but I'm just saying. I have my friends, and they're my friends. I have my views, but almost all the black friends I have are gonna vote for Trump. So obviously super anecdotal, but I'm just saying, and that was way more than it would have been a few, 5 years ago, probably, right? So I don't know, but only time will tell. I think Trump's just going to keep going up in the polls, though. He goes to jail, he's going to go way up in the polls. So yeah, everything they're doing is just backfiring on them.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for daily news updates, smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and share your thoughts on the story in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.